I have been in business for over 15 years, and all the learnings that I've gone through have been through experimenting here and there, reading books, getting mentorship from one place or another. And it has been a very long and tedious journey. But if I was to start a business today, I would do things very differently. And I would focus on three factors that would speed up for me the process. And these three factors include one, purpose, two, systems, and then three, accountability. I'll talk about these factors one by one and take you through my business journey so that you can know what I really went through that I wish I had done differently if I knew these three. One of the major factors is purpose. When I started business, I had no idea. I just got into business to make money. At the end of the day, when money started coming in, I did not know what next. I didn't had no idea how to move my business from one level to another, like scaling up. Yeah, I because all I went in is making money, and this happens every time, especially in our country when people are starting business. Somebody just looks at it like, I want to start business, I'm broke. I want to start business so that I can stop working. How can I get a business idea so that I can make some money? We never think of it in the long term. We think about it only in terms of making money. So basically, what people are looking for is self employment, not business per se. And that is how I started business. I got into it because I'd lost my job and now I wanted to go and do business to make money to sustain my family. At the end of the day, when money started coming in and I was getting in employees and making money, I didn't know what to do next. And I think because I did not have a purpose, I was just in this to make money. And money is short term. What if I'd started business? What if I'd started business because I had a purpose? It would be different. Let's look at Elon Musk. Elon Musk got into business because he wanted to solve a problem. He was looking at it like he started Tesla because he thought of sustainability. So he thought of doing electric cars. And if you look at it, when you do your business and start it with a purpose, if you're solving a bigger problem, the bigger the business grows and the more the intensity of what you're looking at, rather than how to make money, which is very, very short term. So you start with a purpose, then you work around how do you solve this. You look at it from the perspective of how can you help the human, the human, the humanity. How can you help the environment? How can you help the locality? How can you help the community? How can you help the people in business? Or how can you help the children? You start with a purpose. Then you look at it from will I enjoy doing it? And that's where the passion comes in. So when you think about it in terms of purpose, you are able to start working around it to now scale up to something bigger. Number two, systems. This one is very crucial, and this one is something that I'm still learning even up to today. Because when I came to learn to scale up, you really need systems. I was reading this book by Michael Gerber, E-Myth, and it opened my eyes to a totally different level. He was talking about Sarah. The lady was called Sarah who was running a bakery and overworked herself because she knew what she wanted to do, but she came in as a technician. She didn't come in as an entrepreneur. So she was working extra hard and extra more, and she was burnt out and she couldn't do more. And she brought in staff whom she did not know what they were doing because there were no systems in place. So at the end of the day, should end up doing their work for them. And it was not adding any value to her life. She was working in the business, not out of the business. And this can become quite overwhelming. And I've also gone through this, yes, whereby I've brought in, when I started, I brought in people, they started working. And when I brought in my team, they were learning everything. There was nothing like somebody is supposed to do this, somebody is supposed to do this. They were coming in learning. They could be cashiers, they would be in the production, they are the messengers. So there was no defined system of ensuring that everybody was aligned to what they loved or what they could do. And everybody used to be very exhausted doing their work.
You see, in startups, they usually employ people who are jacks of all trades. They do everything. So, what made you think that them doing everything was a bit not systematic? Since for startups, they usually just get people who can do everything.
Yes, for startups, you have to get somebody who can be able to go the extra mile and do everything. But there has to be a system. There has to be ways of being accountable in such a way that by the time they come in, when I was reading in email, they'd already set up positions. You find maybe they had a CEO, they had the marketer, they had the accountant, they had the administrator. So, in regardless of not having anybody there, you'd find like, yes, I have many people. Somebody would handle marketing, but already it is set. He's handling marketing and he's handling administration. This person is handling the COO and handling the other person is handling accounting. So you see, it is defined. Somebody knows my part is to do marketing and administration. The other person knows my part is to do the financial or accounts, depending on the name you give it, and operations. So you see, it is defined, it's systematic, it is not just ad hoc. Yeah, it is defined. So as the company grows, you're able to replace somebody in a certain systemized position and let this person focus on a different space. For example, marketing, you let somebody concentrate on marketing, and if she was handling administration, you give somebody that role of administration so that it balances out and they don't get overwhelmed. So the system is there. So you recruit according to the system. What used to happen is sometimes without the system, you end up hiring more people than they intended. So your overheads will obviously increase. You get? Yes. So the overheads increase, you are not able to pay these people because the overheads are higher than the income, which is also a very crucial part of running the business. So this really made me struggle so much. So if I was to start a business today, I would ensure the system is in place so as I'm hiring and bringing in people, I hire on a need basis, but in alignment to the systems. And then number three, accountability. When I started the business, there was no accountability. I would bring in people, somebody would just work, you do anything. So you, at the end of the day, you find like there are people who are getting overwhelmed and there are some people who are doing nothing, because there was no accountability. Everybody was coming in, you have learned everything. You've learned how to be a cashier, you've learned how to be in customer care, you've learned how to be in production, you've learned how to run the errands. But at the end of the day, you bring these people. There are some people who are overworked because they'll end up doing work for others who are not doing much. But since you are lacking that accountability process, you found that some people are getting very disillusioned. Because at the end of the day, we could not even define who is supposed to be paid more or who is supposed to be paid less, or who is doing more, or who has successfully done work to allow them to grow. So it made things were so mixed up. There was no way of monitoring the team. There was no way of promoting the team. We didn't even have job descriptions. So it was so helter-skelter, and it was very difficult. So if I was to start a business today, I would ensure that whenever I bring each and every person in the business, all they should come in knowing very well the purpose of the business. So that when they come in, they should be aligned with the purpose. And that will also help me in recruiting the right people for the business, to ensure that everything flows. Because if somebody is aligned with the purpose, then the person will be work. The person will not be demoralized. They'll work knowing that this is where the business is heading. And then would have proper systems in place. So when the person comes in, they know this is how things are going, this is how the process is supposed to go, because it will be aligned with our purpose. And this would make the business very easy to scale up. And then number three, everybody would be aligned and should be accountable for the position that they are holding, in such a way that they'll know I am meeting my target or I am not meeting my targets. And this would make it so easy to really iron out what is working and what is not working. So with these three in place, I believe my business could have done better today than all the years that I've been in business.